Good afternoon and welcome. Today is Tuesday, January 31st, 2017. We are glad that you could join us for our Technology Tuesday webinar on digital publishing and portfolios. I am Mark Oakton. I am the coordinator over instructional technology with the Instructional Design and Professional Learning Division. With us right now we have Julie Jones, a digital learning coach. Julie, what schools are you at again? I always forget.
I'm only at Thorpe this year.
At Thorpe this year.
Correct.
Wonderful. And Lorenda Norman will be joining us shortly. She has to finish up her site-based collaboration time, and she is over at Greenspun Middle School. So welcome. I want to talk just a moment about the CCSD blend ed of digital learning. When we're looking at, and we call it the CIA, and this is our new branding of digital learning in the district, and the three important elements that overlay on top of each other. And it's kind of like a Venn diagram where they come together. The first step in digital curriculum, the first step is the digital curriculum into the blended classroom, and students are able to access lessons in a digital setting, and that allows them to become owners of their own learning. The digital curriculum should include components of effective lessons with content, assignments, and assessments. So basically think of digital curriculum as the teacher's aid with the data to help drive decision making. The second part is the guided instruction. Every classroom, and the classrooms with digital content are no exception, need a human touch and a caring heart that connects those students to the curriculum. And the teacher's role changes in a blend ed or blended classroom from simply the deliverer of information to somebody who coaches and assists and guides the students in their learning, providing that tutoring and that intervention as needed, and trying to push their students to higher level thinking. And of course, authentic assessment. Authentic assessments include the use of technology to question, to get more information, to investigate, and to analyze and synthesize findings. Assessments should, in a digital learning classroom, should have students that are engaged in the 4 C's: critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and creativity. And so this authentic assessment includes student work that is thought-provoking and utilizes the Web 2.0 tools. So the CIA of blended learning, I think, is a good starting point, a good framework for any conversation about integrating technology into our instruction. But now I've got talk a little bit more about why, and why we'd even want to publish in the first place, and specifically why you want your students to publish digitally. And then we're going to look at some of the tools. I love talking about why we should integrate technology into instruction. We seem to be the only field or industry in which people question the necessity of technology, and that completely baffles me. As we look back at the last 10 or 15 years, we see a huge influx of technology. You think about, 10 years ago, we first saw the iPhone show up, and we know what's happened since then. We have what scholars are calling a knowledge revolution, which is on the same scale or even a greater scale possibly than the Industrial Revolution. And this is going to completely transform not only our lives, I think it has completely transformed our lives, but it needs to transform the structure of our schools. And so as I look at a couple of these items, these next couple of items that might look familiar to those of you who have attended webinars before, these are kind of a recurring theme that I want to address to try to help people to get into that mindset of using technology. And one of these really, really important aspects, and I addressed it because it is one of the 4 C's of 21st century learning, is creativity. So often, to me at least, I think that creativity is the forgotten attribute, and it's even stifled in our classrooms. However, when we're using digital publishing and when we are having our students publish digitally, we're giving them a chance to find their own voice. Effective use of technology should promote, and it should even require, some creative self-expression on the part of our kiddos. Engagement. Not to sound egotistical, but to quote myself here, we know that learning cannot happen when an audience is disengaged, disinterested, or distracted. And engagement is not the goal, but a byproduct of making a really strong instructional shift. When students are engaged in high quality, rigorous, standards-based instruction, they cannot help but learn. One way we can do this is through our digital publishing. Through this, students are not just passive consumers of information, media, and content. Instead, they are producers and curators of that content themselves, and that's really, really powerful for our kids. And additionally, that technology is a tool for students to convey and demonstrate and apply the skills and knowledge that they're supposed to be learning in our classrooms, which is hugely different from just being a medium for receiving information. Again, the difference here between a student being actively engaged in using technology and as a production tool and passively receiving information. So engagement is hugely critical. I think through digital publishing, we can see an increase in authenticity in the work that our students are doing. Technology in general, but digital publishing in particular, allows us to link the learning to the world beyond the classroom, to get beyond the four walls that surround us, and to provide that essential context. We provide a real audience for our students with tasks that are real for them, that are meaningful for them. If students know that something is going to be read or viewed or consumed by an audience that is greater than just their teachers, consider the effort that is more likely to be invested into that work. We need to not be isolated, not have our students isolated. So consider the audience. Is it the teacher? Is it the students' peers? Is it the school, their community, or possibly the entire world? Assessment. We live in a world where assessment is so important, and we're always talking about assessment. But the digital publishing allows us to do some formative and summative assessments that can really be used in our classroom and in our instruction and to guide our instruction. And we can't forget about the standards. I always bring up the NVAC, the Nevada Academic Content Standard number 6. The writing standard number 6, I'm sorry. From kindergarten through 12th grade, it talks about using digital tools to produce and publish writing, including in collaboration with peers. And so, as you're trying to meet those Nevada academic content standards, and in whatever grade you might be in, this is a very, very powerful tool. And finally, why technology? If I can have students doing all of this with paper and pencil, why is the technology needed? I've alluded to it already that the world is changing around us. We don't use newspapers anymore. We don't use a horse and buggy. Are we really trying to get our kids ready for the world that they'll inherit, or honestly the world that they're already in? Or are we trying to prepare them for a world that's fading away? Our schools were really, really good at preparing students for the factory model. I don't see a whole lot of factories around here. The factory model school has served its purpose, and now we need to transition our instruction to prepare the kids for this world. Now, as we talked about digital publishing, there are lots and lots of tools that are available out there, and we really had to work to narrow it down to the tools that we want to talk about today, because we only have about 45 more minutes. One key thing that I want to point out is that publishing does not necessarily mean writing. Publishing does not have to mean writing. Students are able to publish in a variety of ways. They can use text, images, videos, music, sound. And so we're going to look at a few ways, both on using the iPad environment and also using the online environment. And depending upon what tools you have access to, you'll hopefully find something in here that is really, really useful for you. The first tool that we wanted to show you today was Telegami, or Telegami. I've heard it pronounced both ways. I'm not sure which one is correct. Julie or Lorenda, do you want to correct me on that?
I say Telegami.
I say Telegami.
Okay, that's what I say as well. So at least we're all on the same track here. All right. I'm doing an app share of my iPad here. It's Telegami. I just said it wrong now. And this allows you to create a little avatar, or to reset that. Create an avatar, and for the free account, you can have it speak a 30-second message. Okay, you get to build your character. You can choose the gender. You can choose to have your character be male or female. You can modify the skin tone to try to make it look as much like you as you'd like. Eye color, I'll go with green to try to make it like me. I've been told I have a big head. hopefully not that big. Make it look, I prefer to say dashing and debonair. Try to change the hair color to match mine. Clothing. You can see that I have certain outfits that are locked. That's because I'm using the free account. You can do just fine with the free account. You don't need to use the paid account unless you are really intense about trying to make sure that you are very specific in what your character looks like. Okay, I think that's good enough for making him look as much like me as I can. Emotion. We have choices of neutral, happy, sad, surprised, angry, scared, and silly. If you ask Julie and Lorenda, they'd probably say that my face is fairly neutral most of the time. Yes, no. There we go. There's a, well, never mind, I won't go there. So that's the emotion. Then you can select your background. You can use your camera, take a picture. I can place me in my office here. I can choose from my camera roll. Put me in whatever situation I want. I can choose from the free choices, which I'll stick with here, and have the background. Now, with other apps, you might want to, if you want to combine this with other apps, you might want to use a straight green background, and that way you could green screen it. And so I'm all set up there with that. Now I might want to modify my character a little bit. I can squeeze him, make him smaller. I can drag him up and down. I can rotate him a little bit on both the vertical and the horizontal axes if I want to, and place him exactly where I want him in the scene. Then I add a message by clicking on the message button. Again, if I had the paid version, I could type my text into it. Because I have the free version, I'm going to simply record my voice. Good afternoon, this is Mark, and I am modeling what a telegami looks like. This is going to be about a 10-second little video clip. It's analyzing my voice. Now, I don't know, because I'm doing an app share off of my iPad, if you were able to actually hear the video, hear the audio. Give me a, no, you weren't. Okay, let me try.
No.
Okay, let me try putting my microphone right up to it. Good afternoon, this is Mark, and I am modeling what a telegami looks like. This is going to be about a 10-second little video clip. Sorry for the fuzz there as I adjust my microphone. So you can see that it animates it, and this allows students to share a little message. Very simple, easy to do. Students can record their voice and share with you something that they've learned. It's really great that it keeps it in requires them in the free account to be under 30 seconds, so it requires them to be very, very concise in what they say. And then they can simply click on the share button in the lower left-hand corner. They can save it to their camera roll on the iPad. They can send it to you through an email. If you can have students share it with social media or through a text if you really need to. I would simply have them save it in their camera roll and then submit it to you as a file or email it to you. And that is telegami. Telegami. I'm going to mess up on that every time now just because I'm thinking about it. I'm going to pass it over to Julie, who's going to talk about Book Creator.
Good afternoon. I am going to tell you about Book Creator. It's an awesome app that all kids can really jump into pretty easily. It's pretty intuitive. This one is for publishing book format EPUB type books. If you have a free account with it, the app is downloaded for free. You're limited to only one book, which doesn't work out really well in a classroom setting. So you probably would end up paying for this one. The full price for it is $4.99, but through Apple volume purchasing, which you would need to see your SBT or whoever manages your iPads about, it can be brought down to $2.49. It can be used to create how-to books that explain procedural topics, collaborative books. If you only have one iPad in your classroom, everyone could have a page on that particular book. Nonfiction books to present research information, photo books in which students have to use non-linguistic representations of their learning. You can record your voice over any of the pages. You could have students write the books and then read what they wrote. So the book would be able to be read to other students. It's very intuitive and easy. You can add elements such as photos, videos, drawings, text, sound recordings, and system sound. You have the ability to format the text and change, resize any of the pictures. Very easy to use. And I think now I am turning it over to Lorenda.
Actually, Julie, is it okay if I step in real fast?
Sure, go ahead.
Lorenda, I'm going to do a little app share. One of our former digital coaches, Mark Thomas, has really worked with Book Creator quite a bit, and he was able to send me a couple of things that he's worked on with kids this morning. So I just wanted to show you an example here of what a student created, and I got rid of the last name. Alyssa B. created a book on Nevada symbols, where she went through and brought in text and images talking about the state bird. She has a video. Okay, I've lived in Nevada for 38 of my 40 years, and this is the first time I've seen this entire song of the state song. So, that's something was I thought was kind of cool to see this. Look at state fish with some details about the largest Lahontan cutthroat. I didn't even know we had a state rock or a state artifact. We have the desert tortoise as our state reptile, the sagebush state flower, our flags, the tree, and some other information about the state. But what a great way for kids to be able to show what they have learned. And so I just wanted to show that as an example that that can easily be used in any classroom. If you have one iPad, if you have a class of iPads, this is something that kids can do to publish what they've learned, and it's a way of presenting it. And then this iBook can be exported and made available to anybody. That's all. Lorenda, back to you.
Okay, we going to skip Haiku Deck? I had you up for that next.
I'll do that after this.
Okay. Oh, right, you're on one. Okay, I'm going to be showing Adobe Voice today. So, sorry, hang on. Let me go out and screen share just a moment. Adobe Voice is an app, and you can also use it on the computer. So I'm going to go out and show that to you. Okay. All right, so this is the Adobe Spark. It used to be called Adobe Voice, and the reason I want to show it on the web page instead of the app is because there are a lot more features now. The Adobe Voice will still look at that, and you can put all of these on the iPad as well. But when you first go to Adobe Spark, if you click on Make a Design here, it shows all of the different things that you could possibly do, just giving you ideas. And under Learn More, These are the different elements. So there is a Spark post, and I believe that is also an app. And there's Spark Page, which is what used to be Adobe Voice, and Spark Video was Adobe Voice. So there are three different elements, and the post is what you think it is. It's creating memes, postcards. A page is an interactive, or it's like a rolling web page. It's really cool. I'm going to show it to you in a moment. And then the Spark Video is like Adobe Voice. Well, it is. And what it does is you can embed images, videos, and the kids can record over the top of it, and it plays like a movie. It can be downloaded as an MP4. Just to look, you can look into the inspiration gallery to get some ideas of what people are doing. Hang on, my computer's a little froze because I am at school. Here we go. So you can see even just somebody made a Be Kind page, not a page, post. This one says video, so that's video. Here's another page, so that's a rolling one. Let's just look at it as an example. So it will load, and you can see it's just very pretty to look at. I mean, it looks very professional. And as I'm scrolling down, it's moving the image up and putting my text here, so it's very easy to read before I get to my next image. And then here comes more text again. So this could be a simple report that kids are doing. And even before I leave this image, they've inlaid more text over the top of that. So it just scrolls really nice. The images that you put in, oh, something happened to her foot. And just keep going. So that's what a page is. And let me just click on see a video really quick. And again, this was Adobe Voice if you are familiar with that. This is so simple to make. I did this with first graders all year last year. And they got to where they just did it on their own. They were reading their work. So that's some inspiration. So let's go in and just show you how easy it is. So to start, you can just log in. If you have an Adobe account, you can use that, but now you can also just sign up with your Google account, which we all have. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. And then it's going to come in here and it's just showing what I have. So it's my projects. Again, I can go look back at the inspiration or look at the blog. So here's something that I had started with just a post. Let's just click it and edit it. And when a post comes in, you get a theme that you can choose from. So at the top, I can make I can resize it. So if I want to make postcards or something for social media, it gives me all of those options right there. So I can choose the size. I can then choose my theme. This is my current theme, but if I just click on this one, it changes it, keeps my text there, but gives me a different background. Very, very simple. So you just find what it is that you like. And then there's the palette. So if this is my theme that I've chosen, it's give me a color palette that matches that somehow. And then my background, I could change that to a different type. I could just do a solid color. I don't want to remove my photo, but you could just do a solid color, or you can change how your actual image looks back there. And sometimes it takes a few seconds for it to kick over. And when I'm up here also, my text I can change, so I can grab it, move it wherever I want, rotate it. It gives me different shapes that I can put inside of there. So I can make my text box look however I want it to. So it looks very professional. It looks like I've spent hours and I'm a genius, but really all I did was click a few things. And I would click Save. Again, I can add more text, change the style. And then when I'm done, I can share it. It'll save my post. I can share it out as I could download it, share it out as a link, or whatever I want to do with it, make it public or private. I'm going to close out of that right now really quick. Hang on, I'm a little frozen. Okay, so next I'm going to go back to the home page of Adobe Spark, and I'm going to look at a page as soon as it gets there. And I can't remember 100% if that is an app on the, I know the Adobe Voice is an app, but I can't remember if the post is. I'm sure it's all on there though. So I can click my plus button up here now, and this is where I can decide, hey, do I want to post? And that's what we were just looking at. If I want to create a page or the video. So I'm going to go ahead and click on a page. And I can simply add my title. Today's and a subtitle. Now as I start to scroll down, you're going to see it starting to change, and I get this little plus sign right here saying, what do you want to add? I'm like, well, I'm just going to add a photo. So I can upload a photo, I can search and find them, get them from my Google Photos, Dropbox. I have one on my desktop here I'm going to grab really quick. I don't know why I'm saying really quick while I'm at school on my desktop. All right, let's see what I have here. All right, so I just have a coffee mug. And so it's put that picture behind it very easily. And now, since I have a picture saying, hey, what do you want to do next? And I can just say, I'm going to add a post. I can make it a quote. All right, so I could do different things with it, bullets, text, all of that. And now I can go back in, I can insert a video, a photo grid, so I could add several photos and have it come in as a grid. Let's just do a find photo really quick. Puppies. Oh, that's adorable. I'm going to add that one. I could replace the puppies and I can edit my grid. I'm going to click save. I thought in there, that must have been a big puppy. All right, so I'm going to go down. I'm going to add another, oh, it's got a slideshow. Let's add a slideshow here, here, here. So I'm just clicking, putting the animals in there. I'm going to click save and then go and see. I'm going to look at a preview to say, how is my page looking so far? So I just have today's thoughts and can scroll through, and you can see there's my text that I put in, and now here's my puppies. Oh, it did keep adding it every time I clicked it. So here come these images really big, and all I'm doing is scrolling down and it's focusing in on those animals I put in. So very simple, looks nice, and then you would just again share that out as a link. And the next one I'm going to look at is a video. So I'm just going to do plus video. Again, this is Adobe Voice, very easy on the iPad. So you can click Imagine If. Hang on, it's still loading. So you could put a title in here now, but you don't have to. You can come back to it. What I like about Adobe Voice is it kind of gives you a little template. So if you wanted the kids to tell something, tell a story, show and tell, personal growth, it kind of just gives writing prompts. So I'm going to pick tell what happened. So this will combine where you can use images and photos, but the really great element of this is adding the voice. You could watch the quick tip video if you'd like. And another thing that I really like about it, there are not that many options. So right away, the first thing kids like to do is click all the colors and all the things that it could possibly be. So here are their themes, and you can see there's not that many of them. So they'll click them all, or on the iPad, it just switches them really quick. So it's very simple. That'll take them a few minutes. And the layout they can change, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. But if you look down below, this is our movie timeline basically. So this is our first slide, and it's giving the prompt of who. So it's describing who or what to tell your story to follow. And I'm like, okay, so I'm going to add something. I can only add 4 things. It's either going to be a video, a photo, an icon, or some text. So I'm going to add a photo. Again, I can find photos. Puppies again. All right, so I'm going to grab that puppy again, put him in there, and maybe I want to tell, I'm going to change the layout because I like for them to have the kids, the full screen could be fine for the first title, but the second one, maybe I want a thing and a caption. So there's my image, and I could say blue dog. And now what I can do, there's this record button right here, and on the iPad this is wonderful. I don't know if it's going to work here with me talking on this webinar at the same time, but I would click that, and it says press and hold while speaking, so the kids on the iPad literally just hold that, okay, and I'm talking, and I talk about my blue dog, so it is working. And you can see it showing the seconds go by. I think you get 30 seconds, maybe it's 20 per slide, and it's starting to tell me keep it short, so I'm going to stop. Now, if I wanted to record again over it, I don't have to delete anything. I just click that button again and record. So now I can push play and hear my movie. Okay, and I'm talking and I talk about my blue dog. So you get the idea of that. Now I could go to my next slide. Again, I could add a photo. I could add just text of whatever I wanted. And again, you could change the layout of what's going on. So I could add a photo on one side, some text on the other. So there, I'm just going to have a cat. Cat's rule. And then again, I could record my voice. So I'm holding it and recording my voice again. And now as the slides play together, they would just go seamlessly. So if I push play from the beginning right here, it would start and play the entire movie. And you'll notice too, when we kind of listened to me for a moment, there was some background music. There's also not a lot that they can choose from. So they can click on what type of music they want and, play it to see how it sounds. And it just plays softly in the background. You don't have to adjust the volume too much or anything unless the kids barely speak. Some of them are very soft-spoken and you can't hear them. So again, they have added more music, but there's not that much for them to choose from. They will have to click every one and listen to them though. And again, you could preview that, and it looks like a nice little movie like this. And it would continue to play. I know you don't want to hear me again. And then you would share it out as a link. So that is Adobe Spark. And I think I'm switching to somebody else now. Julie, let me close out.
There are a couple of questions about Adobe Voice and Spark. Lorenda, I think I've got an echo through you. This is really easy for people to use. My little guy with special needs, just right after he turned 3, made his first Adobe Spark video. We used to call it Adobe Voice. And, I had him do his ABCs. And he didn't know his ABC, so I had to help him with that part of it. But by the time we got to the middle of the alphabet, he told me, "No, Dad," and he wouldn't let me touch my iPad anymore. He did it all himself, and he, just from watching me do the first half of the alphabet, he figured it out really quick. So it's really, really easy for kids to use. He's 5; he's still not reading very well, so don't worry about your students' ability levels. This can work with any kid, and I say that because my favorite video is Jacob's alphabet, as he goes through each of the letters and explains what they are based upon the pictures that he saw. Okay, we're going to skip the haiku deck and go straight into looking at Powtoon with Julie.
Okay. Before we go on, Dan wanted to know, though, is this all in the same app? Are some of those only on the website? So I wanted to let Lorenda answer that real quick.
I think the only one that's not on there, because Adobe Voice is Adobe Spark, Adobe Post is the web page. I think there's only one, but you can do all 3 of those elements. There are apps for them. I just don't remember what they call them now.
Thank you, Lorinda.
Yeah, it is just on the web page. You can do all three, so you have access to all three. But I think they're individual apps themselves.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do an app share as well for Powtoon. Let me skip past Haiku Deck. All right, Powtoon, at the very least, I could see teachers using it just to not kill them with the PowerPoint. But let me see if I can get this up. Mark, can you see my desktop?
I sure can.
Okay, thank you. So Powtoon is free. However, they do offer different packages. There are some for education. If your students are over the age of 13, they could sign up for creating free Powtoons on their own. I'm going to go ahead to one that I created pretty simply. So let me open this one up. And let's see if it's going to play. Maybe. Come on. So it's basically a slideshow. So that one was just a real simple one. Oh, stop. That was very easy to create. You can start with the create button. And I'm sorry, my computer's being slow. One of the things I like, especially when we're talking about students publishing, they do have a cartoon version. So students could create different types of cartoons to explain anything from the water cycle to creating a story and just having that creativity that Mark was talking about earlier. But definitely there's the whiteboard and the infographic. But once you choose what you're going to do, very similar to what Lorenda was showing us with Adobe Spark. We can add an intro, describe a problem, present a solution, call for action. This is just the free one because I try not to pay for things. If I paid for stuff, it would get to be way, way too much. One of the things I do recommend with Powtoon, because we are running out of time, is they have a lovely section of tutorials. And the tutorials are actually videos. And so they go anywhere from 47 seconds to a couple minutes. Most of them are a minute or under, but they give great suggestions on how to do things. But it's a great way, even if you wanted to start using that within your repertoire instead of using a PowerPoint or something like that. Once you're done creating one, you can share it via the social media. You can download it as an MP4, so it will play as a movie. You can download it as a PowerPoint. It won't have all of the bells and whistles if you download it as a PowerPoint or a PDF. And then you can, again, share it YouTube or Vimeo. I noticed somebody said in the text chat they will create their lessons and share them via YouTube. So you could do the same thing here. Those are your options to export it. But Powtoons is a very powerful tool, both for you as an educator and for students to be able to use. I'm going to go ahead and quit the app share. And who are we going to next? More, is that you, Lorinda?
Yes, it is me, but I was sharing before I unmuted myself. So hang on. All right, so The next one we're going to look at here is called a s'more, and I really like this one. I came across it when I had a lesson to do with some kids, like making itinerary, and what we planned didn't work on the app, and then I found this. So what it is basically a digital flyer. And what I like now is they do have an educator hive, so if you click on it, it is free. You get 5 free s'mores. I actually paid for mine because I do like it so much. But it's great for even sharing letters with your parents, especially for elementary school, and you can see all the different things that other teachers are using this app for, but can use it with the kids as well. And again, they could sign up for a free account and get up to 5 of them free. So if I click on, so I'm going to show you what I'm doing with some history kids this week. So the history teacher had been doing these projects where the kids were making a newspaper for the times of during the Civil War, but they had to come up with their paper, and she physically gave me the old ones that the kids had where they would draw them, and I think they'd use Publisher maybe in a lab, and I just copied exactly what the kids had and wrote down what they had on there and made this flyer, except we also embedded a video. I put different images in. But you can see it scrolls down. Let me show you. I haven't published it. Let me show you what it looks like. If you shared it, this is how it would look. So it's very clean, easy to read. The video plays right inside of here. But what is really nice too for the elementary school teachers is it does have the print option. So if you need to hang those things on your bulletin board, you can do that as well. So let me go back and show you. I'm going to just start with a new flyer. And again, you can choose how you want it to start, but it really doesn't matter. They can change it all up. So the first thing it'll do is ask you to put in a title, and this can be whatever you want, and a subtitle. Again, I really like this one because of the simplicity. The first thing the kids are all going to want to do before they put the information in is go change everything. They only have 6 or 7 things down here that they can change. So if they go here, their background again is limited on what they can change. Their color palette, it's gotten, well, I think I have more because I actually paid for mine, but the palette's limited there as well as the fonts. So that after 10 minutes, they're kind of done playing with what it can actually look like, and then it's time to put our information in there, which is the most important part. So they give you the layout. So everything that's grayed out, obviously if this was published, it wouldn't be seen. But this was the template that we chose. If I decided I didn't want these 3 pictures, I could just exit and remove it. If I decided, no, I do want the pictures. So you notice when I hover, I get a little green plus sign. That means I can add something in there. And so I can add a text, title, picture, a gallery, an event, a bio, some audio, video, or embed a link. So you could embed a Google Doc, Google Forms, anything inside of this form. These are also located at the bottom all the time. So you could just click one and say, I want to add a picture. So if I go up and just say I'm here in my sample paragraph. So I'm writing away, blah, blah, blah. It does give me the ability to put links. There's not a lot of font choices because that font was chosen over here. It's only going to have so much, but you can bold and italicize, but that's about it. Center it. And I would click done. So that's my sample paragraph, and all it says is that. Say I could embed a video, and if you have the URL, you just post it right there. Let's see, and what I'd like to is with the pictures, it comes in like this, but if I'm editing, I get these little arrows back and forth, so I can go, oh, maybe I want 3. Oh wait, nope, that's always the same one. Hang on. I think it's the gallery. Nope, that's the one I just did. So with the picture, it keeps giving me the same one. But when you're adding the text, you can decide to put a picture on one side or the other, like I had with my previous slide that you'd seen. If I'm done editing, I click done. And you can see that's all that's going to show up. All that I had in gray, even though I kept clicking stuff, is not going to be apparent because it's only showing what I actually put information in. With the flyer settings, as soon as you say you're done, it does make it public. So if you're not ready for people to see it, you can make it private. No one really finds them anyway unless people subscribe to you or know that you've sent them out. And you get little points if so many people have viewed your flyers. It'll tell you how many people have visited, where they're visiting from. It's actually kind of interesting. It'll show. So when the kids are writing for real audiences, it's kind of nice because it'll say, hey, you had people in California, Washington, across the world actually look at their flyer. It's amazing. Sometimes who looks at them? So again, leave the personal information off if they're going to do that. I'm going to go back out there some more though. It's very easy and friendly and it looks great.
All right, next we're going to switch gears a little bit, and we're going to talk about student portfolios. A couple reminders in regards to portfolios. They should demonstrate student involvement in meaningful performance tasks, evaluated by strong rubrics to show mastery of a content or a skill. There should be an emphasis on self-evaluation and metacognition, and students should choose the content of their portfolios. It's an interactive process in which students participate in academic discourse by explaining what they've chosen, why they've chosen it, how it represents that they have mastered that standard, what they learned during their time in the learning activity, and then teachers can provide meaningful feedback on that. So there's a couple ways that we can do student portfolios. Since we are part of the Clark County School District, all of us, including the students, have Google accounts. And with that Google account, we have a Google Drive in which we have unlimited amount of space. One of the ideas you could do is have students set up a folder for each one of their areas that they would want to have a portfolio on. So writing, reading, mathematics, science, whatever it might be. And then they can add things to those portfolios after they have mastered that content. Really easy to get things into your Google Drive. Especially if a lot of our students have devices, and so if they download the Google Drive apps, which are free, they can take pictures of science experiments or different parts of their learning and upload those. They could definitely include Google Docs or create a journal type entry, any of those kinds of things within Google Drive. Another thing that students could do is create a website. One place that they could do that is Wix. It's free. It's a drag and drop website type builder, pretty easy to use. Great place for students to create portfolios. They could create different pages again for each one of the disciplinary areas. So reading page, their writing page. They can share their science results instead of a science board. Could you imagine having computers all around the multipurpose room instead of all those trifold boards? There's no program needed. That's a web-based application that you can use. And then the last one that I'm going to talk about is Google Sites. Google Sites has created more of a drag and drop type platform. I have not played around with it a huge amount. I've used Google Sites, the older Google Sites, where it wasn't quite as easy to use, but again, a great way for students to show off their work. Easy, they all have access to it because of their Google accounts. So I definitely recommend, Kelly is saying it's really easy to use. So I recommend that as another way that students can show off and have those portfolios. Especially as you start to get up towards the high school levels, I recommend portfolios because that's something they can share a link with a college that they're interested in going to, and that college can see some of the things that they've done along their high school career, so they could include other things if they're doing the volunteering or they're involved in sports or any awards that they've had. So it goes above and beyond just putting those academic things in there as you get ready to prepare to go to college. All right, I believe I'm turning it over to Mark.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Lorenda. We are out of time. If you could give each of them a good round of applause, we appreciate Julie and Lorenda volunteering to come so that you don't have to just listen to me for a straight hour. All right, thank you again. And please don't hesitate to email any of us with additional questions or for some additional support. We would love to be able to provide that support for you and answer any questions. We know that this was a real quick and brief overview of some of these great tools for helping students create their digital portfolios and to publish online and publish digitally. Get your feet wet with them and play with them. And thank you for coming.